Comm-UNTIY podcast, and I'm your host, Madonna. Our guest today is Fleury, the Executive Director of the Alana Foundation. In this episode, shares the innovative and exciting ways that the foundation is using to address the climate challenge in Brazil. This season of the Comm-UNTIY podcast is brought to you by Civsos Africa in partnership with Wings and the Philanthropy for Climate movement. So you're most welcome to the Comm-UNTIY podcast, Lais. Your host, Madonna. Could you share with our listeners more about your foundation and the work that you've been up to?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, well, first of all, thank you very much for this invitation. It's really like an honor to be here. I'm always very excited to work internationally. So I'm very happy to know that you guys from Africa is also hearing our message from Brazil. I love these international exchanges. So my name is Fleury. I'm a social entrepreneur and I work for Alana. Alana is a social environment impact organization that promotes children's rights to integrate to their whole development and also fosters new forms of well-being. So when Alana, just to explain more about our organization, just for you to understand, we work as a system because it's a group of 3 organizations from the Global South perspective that has this mission to advocate for children's rights. So the 3 organizations are, the first one is Alana Institute, that it's a non-profit organization which mission is to honor the child. The second one, it's Alana, the name is Alana Lab. It's Alana core business with a focus on impact and innovation. So currently, what we do a lot of films production company that makes makes campaigns to improve the impact. So usually we select a very important cause and then we make a film about it. And the way that we distribute the film, it's with the goal to increase the impact of this cause, because we understand that the movies are very important, also a very important tool of transformation. And then the third organization is Alana Foundation. This is the one that I am the director. And Alana Foundation is an independent philanthropic organization, and it's a family organization, actually, that support initiatives in the areas of environment, inclusive education, and health, science, and research. And it also engages with networks and global movements in those areas. So what I would like to share is even as a system, even we are a group of 3 organizations, we already work in each of them with the environment. Also, we've been always very worried about climate change. And what I think I can share is that the environment has always been present in our initiatives in a way that it's more transversal, it's more around all the initiatives. It's not that we have specific initiatives that looks for that, but having said that, even in each one of the 3 organizations that we have, there are some initiatives that we try to focus a little bit more. So in Alana Institute, for example, this is the first organization that it was created by the founders. And with this mission to honor the child, we started a program, an initiative, very bringing the reflection about consumerism, how advertisements, that when advertisements target kids, how bad the impacts are for their whole development, but also of the environment. So if we live in a very consumist society, we are pretty much using a lot of natural resources that the planet doesn't, it's really hard for the planet to hold it and to become sustainable. So we started this initiative, the name is Children and Consumists, just to bring up reflection of how become consumists, it's really bad for the kids, and how we should banish, like why we should ban actually the advertisement for that goes directly to kids. And then after that, we just like the fact that we are an organization that we wanted to honor the childhood, we thought that we needed to have an initiative that would take care specifically of the bond of children and nature. So then in 2015 we started this initiative. The name is Children Nature Program, that the mission is to advocate for the right of every children to live in a healthy environment, and also strengthening their connection to nature, because we also believe that the love for nature, it's also like a foundation to mitigate climate crisis. Because if we care about nature and if we love nature, it's going to become easier to grow up and willing to protect nature. And within this program, we also have some actions and some initiatives about climate justice, pretty much focusing and understanding that the children today, they are the most vulnerable. They are the most vulnerable in climate change, in climate crisis, because the fact that they are in a very special stage of development. The climate hazards really impact them in a very bad and in this disadvantaged way, because they become very traumatic, like mentally very, it's a big trauma for them, and also like physically, and also, for example, when I don't know, when a flooding happens, for example, they need to be relocated from their homes, but also it's going to be hard for them to go back to the school because they are like in a very challenging situation. So this starts to also hit and impact their cognitive and their healthy development, if I'm making it clear. So, and the fact that children represents, for example, a third of the population of the world, so we understand that it's also like a climate justice, just to bring up light to children's rights, like how important it is to incorporate in climate action. So this will be more like the work that we do through Alana Institute, and then through Alana Lab, that it's the business that we have, and we work with entertainment. We've been working, for example, now on a very important international movie that will feature a global impact campaign, which will address climate change, early childhood, litigation, and environmental racism. Yeah, so we had in the past, we did 2 TV series about the deforestation in the Amazon and how this was also like impact in a bad way the indigenous communities, and bringing up the importance of the civil society of fighting for the traditional communities of their rights, and also to advocate for the zero deforestation in the Amazon. So we just had this strategy of combining the fiction with real data, like making partnership, for example, with Greenpeace and other organizations that work in the environment area. And then so we would bring like a very powerful history that it was a fiction, but it was based in real facts. And so we understand that this is also a way, like with movies and TV series, that has a very distinctive way to reach out a very huge mass. It's also a way to escalate the message of how important it is to protect the environment. And as I said before, now our next film, it's going to be about that, climate change, early childhood, litigation, and environmental races. And with the movie, what we do a lot of campaigns that help us to advocate for that specific cause. So we create a huge network of organizations that also works with this theme. And then we set up a huge campaign to distribute the film and make partnerships, for example, with Netflix and with other platforms that does streaming. And with that, we are able to reach a very huge and wider audience. So this is the second organization that I talked about. And then the third organization is the Alana Foundation, that is the philanthropy one. So we helped to create, to conceive, and then at the end we also sponsored a prize that the name is Rainforest X Prize. That pretty much it's we made a partnership with X Prize Foundation, that it's an organization that works with competitions. So they develop like competitions and awards and to invite teams to create innovative solutions, but always using technology. So the goal of this X Prize Rainforest Prize is to invite teams from all over the world to develop technologies that helps to map out the biodiversity of the tropical rainforest, because we understand that we need to have an economy that needs to be more aligned in benefit of nature instead of destructing nature, right? That's what we are doing right now, using nature as a resource. And what we want is to try and support like an increase of a new bioeconomy that would really value the forest, like the healthy forest, and would really value the standing forest. And to develop a bioeconomy, we need to understand, we need to know, to increase our knowledge about the biodiversity of the tropical rainforests, and to know exactly what type of products we can use, and also to make an alliance with the traditional communities and have also their knowledge applied in this technology. So when it happens, like they're also very well they are also benefit by this technology that it's coming out with this prize, So this is also a way, for example, for our system that has the main goal to advocate for children's rights. We understand that if we take care about the biodiversity, and if we help to preserve the biodiversity, we are also honoring children's rights, because they have the right to live in a healthy global ecosystem. So these three organizations working with to protect the environment with different strategies, what we understand is that the combination and the integration of all these three organizations working together just make our message more powerful. And also we have different strategies and tools that really complement and really like add forces in like with the same message, that it's to mitigate and advocate and for a healthy environment for the children in all over the world. But we have the opportunity to use different strategies and to reach different audience with different narratives. So I think this is the chemistry that Alana brings up, always working from the global South perspective, because this is where our organization is based. But with these different strategies and working with different audience, we understand that at the end, we are going to achieve the same goal, that is to offer to the children a healthy environment and consequently honor their rights. So I think in general, this is pretty much what we do. I don't know if it was clear, and if you have any specific question, I'm happy to detail a little bit more.
Okay. It was very clear and a very fascinating approach to addressing the climate challenge, because when we hear there have been very different intersections between climate and other typical thematic areas. We just not yet encountered, a story that involves children and the environment, or children and climate. Mm-hmm. And usually when it's brought up, it's typically futuristic, like let's let's focus on protecting the environment or conserving it for the future generation, as if it's always addressed in a sense that it's not immediate. It's like a long-term future approach. But I like what I'm hearing, that there's work that you're doing to address the challenges that we're facing currently, but also calling to mind, the future impact of climate change. So I'm just curious about what prompted the focus on children and the environment, children in particular. Why that particular group?
So we understand, like, children, they need to have absolute priority. And when we advocate for children's rights, like the rights and best interests of children and teenagers must be guaranteed with absolute priority. And we understand that this is a shared responsibility between family, state, and society, including companies. And also we understand that children need to be cared in the present in order to have a future. And also taking care of children is taking care of all of us as a society and countries. And we have a lot of data that proves that the climate emergency is also a children's right crisis. And because we understand that, as I said before, that the climate crisis impacts children in a more severely way, especially in the global south. And we want to bring the perspective that, because usually when we associate children to climate crisis, we immediately think, okay, yes, we need to talk about it because they are going to be the ones that who is going to inherit a very challenging
the
planet. Yes, and they are going, and they are our future, because they are going to be the ones that it's going to be like in the years to come. They will need to fight for our environment. But we want to change this perspective, because we understand that we need to guarantee the future of the kids in the present, and also that the climate crisis, it's already impacting them right now. It's not that they're going to suffer in the future for the climate crisis. No, they are already suffering by the climate crisis. And so they are already suffering all the impacts, like health, forced displacement, food insecurity, like droughts and floodings. And it's really and it really impacts on them in a more severely way. And we also understand that access to nature and to a healthy environment, it's a children's rights. And this is and this would be like, there is no human's rights if we don't take care about nature, right? Without nature, there are no rights. So if we are advocating for children's rights, we need to guarantee a healthy environment for them, and also access to nature, and so I think this is why we have very impressive data that says, for example, from UNICEF, that a third, 2.2 billions of children has already been impacted by climate crisis. And there is also another data there's not also another data from what's the name? I know in Portuguese the name. It's the WHS, the World Health official.
The World Health Organization?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that they say, for example, that like 1 out of 5 deaths in children under 5 years old, the death was caused by a direct climate hazard or indirect climate crisis. So it's very impressive, this data, when we think about it, that the kids are already suffering so much, and they are 1/3 of the population of the world. So if we don't address their rights, and if we don't incorporate children's rights into climate change, we are not. It's also a matter of climate justice, because they are a third of the population that has no voice. Unfortunately, like they have no power to make decisions, right? They need to be represented there because they're too young. So we just think we need to bring this awareness of the high level negotiators, and policymakers, that they need their voice and their needs to be represented there, because it's a matter of climate justice, and they are not able to be there to fight for their own rights, right? So that's why we understand that it's very urgent to advocate for their rights. And as I said before, we understand that if we ensure children's connection with nature, and it's also a strategy for conservation and mitigation of climate change. There is this author, his name is Richard Louv, he's an American author, that he coined this term, that it's not a medical term, but he said that the kids today, especially the ones who live in urban contexts, they suffer for nature deficit disorder. So as I said before, it's not like a medical term, but Richard Louv, he was able to prove in his book, the name of the book is The Last Child in the Woods, that the fact that kids has not a lot of opportunities to play free in nature these days, in urban context, this is really like reaching their health in a very bad way, in a very like impact in a very bad way, in a very their health, like in different aspects, like spiritual, physical, cognitive. And then on the same time, on the other hand, if they have the opportunity to have contact with nature during their childhood, they develop this bond with nature, and they grow up more like healthier, and with like better cognition and better physical health. So it really impacts in their health in a very positive way, and especially now we need to take care. We need to be really careful about that, because not a lot of people these days, especially the ones who live in the urban areas, they have the opportunity to bond and spend time in nature. But on the other side, they hear all the time that the world is on fire, that climate crisis. So they get very scared about it, like they think that nature probably is going to threat their lives. So we need to balance this relationship for them as well, that they have the opportunity to have this sense of wonder and this sense of connection to nature, to love nature, and to be happy to receive these gifts from nature, and also create their inner resources to also be resilient, and also to be inspired to fight for nature as well, because we know, like, even now our environment, it's already like a big challenge for us.
Wow. So as you were talking about that, the nature deficit disorder, it's a very interesting term
Nature
that he
deficit
coined,
disorder.
that Richard coined. Yeah. It just occurred to me that, a lot of my childhood memories involved a lot of nature. So it was, typical of parents to take their children off to their, we call them villages, but they would probably be country homes for you guys. So just spending time there, interacting with animals, with farmland and all that stuff, like there's a lot of curiosity, because you're typically coming from a city that's really just a concrete city. The buildings, the apartments and cars, less trees, less, nature recreational spaces. So it's very impressive what you're doing with children in your context.
Yeah.
I wanted us to, okay, you had something?
No, I would like to invite everyone to see this movie that we we produced. The name is The Beginning of Life 2 Outside. It's in the main streaming platform. So, for example, you can see it in Netflix, in Google Play, and like I think the main ones, even like Amazon Prime Video, and also in the website of Maria Farinha. And this movie, The Beginning of Life 2 Outside, really brings scientific evidence that indicates that a lack of contact with nature can contribute to physical and mental problems. And also the movie brings leading experts on the subject to show how this connection can be part of the cure for the biggest challenges facing humanity today, and the construction of a happier life with a greater level of well-being. So I think what I'm sharing this right now, because this movie talks a lot about nature deficit disorder, and it brings different perspectives, from the perspective from the health and from the urban, from the cities, from the educations, and also from the environment, like what you can easily do according to your own reality, what you can do to stimulate and to give opportunities to children, to elevate their opportunities to be more connected to nature, even in challenging environments and context. So I think this is a good film that whoever is interested in about this topic of nature deficit disorder, I think this is a very interesting movie, because also brings initiatives, that very easy initiatives that you can do on your own, depending on your area, because we understand that is a shared responsibility. It's not only for the families, but also for the society and also for the government. So what you can do about it.
Thank you. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that. And all our listeners, I just invite them to check it out and, have this perspective and how we can engage and ensure that children interact with nature more, because that's something that's definitely disappearing in our society as we embrace urbanization and, generally gentrification of places that used to be filled with nature.
Yeah.
I'd like to explore more into some of the approaches that you've taken to address the climate challenge. Entertainment, movies, that's a very, interesting approach. I'm curious, how have these movies been received?
Like
Do you
really
receive
amazing.
feedback? Yeah.
Okay, I understand that.
Appreciate.
Yeah, for example, we had the first one. I'm gonna write down for here to you as well. Aruanas. Aruanas, it was like a TV series that we made um, in partnership with the main TV channel that we have here in Brazil, and and Aruana was pretty much like a three friends that that they were activists, and they were investigating crimes in environment crimes in the Amazon that involved a very big minery, like mining, a very big miner. I don't know how to say, like the company that
like a
does
mining factory or something.
yeah.
Okay.
So they, as an activist and working for a non-profit organization, so they would really like the series shows these three women that they were fighting to preserve the environment, and they face a lot of personal drama. So this is the interesting part of a fiction, that it's like a novel or like a romance, but on the other side, we were able to bring the complex contest of like the mining and different interest and power that has in all these complex relations when you work and when you deal with like activists and environment and mining and indigenous people, like traditional communities. So it was a huge success in Brazil. We were able to exhibit it in our noble, like, how can I say, like in a very important time of that specific channel. And then we were able to make international partnerships as well. And Aruanas was not only exhibited in Brazil, but also in the entire world. And the success was so huge that we were invited to do the second series.
Wow.
And then this last one was about air pollution, like how the air pollution was like really like killing the people who were working in this factory, and they were anyway, and just unveiling all these health problems that they were having. And I think that it was very impressive, and it was just like a different narrative, and a different way of telling like such an important message, but using the fiction and also reaching like so many houses, because the TV, it's very democratic, like in a sense that these days it's more like it's you are able to reach a broader audience than, for example, working, because usually we tend to work in our own bubble, right? But when you work with films, so and when you have the series, for example, available to do streaming, you lose control, because anyone could watch it. Like, of course,
any
has access to the internet. I know that it's not like something that everybody has the opportunity to have access to the internet, but the ones who has the opportunity to see this message, so it was a very powerful strategy. And then I'm also happy to share that we made a research about like how Aruanas inspired people, the audience who watch it, to do something about it, of the environment. And we had the result that 87% of the audience that watched Aruanas felt really inspired to do something about it, something about the environment. So it's just like one more, it just proves to us how powerful the movies are, that they really touch people's heart, and they really reach a very like wide audience as well, and really touch. And when you touch people's heart, this is like the first step for making a change, right? Because then you feel it, and then you want to do something about it, right? It goes through your body and through your heart.
Wow. I like that you mentioned usually when we're just about implementing work, we tend to focus more on a local context, then maybe document it and it could reach people beyond, but not quite. But yeah, film is very impactful. I mean, generations have been impacted by film, and yeah, there's certain films that or movies that describe a certain era, and things about that era because of that particular film. Of course, sometimes there's a tendency to sort of present things in cliches and all, but the reach is absolutely impactful. I'd like us to explore more on the tech part. You talked about the Rainforest X Prize and how you're leveraging the use of technology to map out biology for tropical rainforests. How is that working? The people that have probably benefited from this prize, do you get to hear more about the work they're doing beyond the prize, the impact that they're having on their communities to address the climate challenge, specifically around tropical rainforests?
Yeah. So this is a 5-year competition to change our understanding of the rainforest ecosystem. So these days we had 33 teams from all over the world that applied, And their goal is to develop an innovative technology that would help in a very small amount of time to map out the most amount of biodiversity that technology could get, just as I said before, to change, to elevate our knowledge about the biodiversity of the rainforest. So we are almost on the third year of this competition. We had 33 teams from all over the world that submitted. But then this year, we selected 15 teams that passed forward to the semifinal phase. And then next year in Singapore, it's going to be in June 2023, May in 2023. We are going to have these 15 teams testing their technology locally for the judge, So then it's going to be an opportunity to see what the prize is bringing up, and it's really like, what are the technology that the teams are developing? So this is going to be our opportunity to start getting closer to the teams and also to understand and see the technologies that they are bringing up. And then the final prize is going to be in 2024. This is when we are going to be able to see more about the technology. So the XPRIZE Rainforest we believe that we are going to accelerate the innovation of autonomous technologies needed for biodiversity assessment. And also we will change our understanding of rainforest ecosystem by using rapid data integration to provide new wisdom about the forest, as well as inspire new investments and exploration. So the XPRIZE Rainforest will reveal the true potential of the standing forest, accelerating the development of new, just, and sustainable bioeconomies. So I think probably next year in June 23, we are going to have more news and updated about the teams, and what they are developing. And the winning team will develop a novel technology to rapidly and comprehensively survey rainforest biodiversity and use that data to improve our understanding of this complex system. And then they're gonna get this prize, like that. It's the competition is like $10 million. So every team is gonna be like a ratio of that. And the idea is that they're gonna develop like a technology that we will foment, a new market. So we hope that we're gonna attract more investors and to create new fields that it's gonna improve the bioeconomy, and rapidly we're gonna change the way that we relate to nature and also the way that we explore nature, but in benefit of nature, not depriving nature. It's just like to change this paradigm.
I'm curious, Africa has quite a number of rainforests. I was wondering, are there any African participants in the prizes?
Yes, they are. They are teams from all over the world. And if you hit the website of XPRIZE, then you can see all the teams that went to the finals. Actually, I can see here exactly. I think I know that when they selected the teams, there were teams from Africa, but now in the semi-finalists, unfortunately, I don't see anyone. But one of the like after the semi-finalist stage, we need to, in 2024, we need to set up a new place to make the testings of the final technologies. And we have three options. The one is going to be in Brazil. The second one, it's going to be I think it's in, let me see if I can find it here, but it's in Africa. It's in, I don't know if it's Borneo.
Congo Basin? And we have
Congo,
the
exactly.
Congo Basin. Okay.
Yes, Congo. And then the third one, it's going to be in Singapore. But Singapore, it's already been the place for the final testing. So there is uh, a high chance that's going to be either in Brazil or in Congo.
So this podcast was done in partnership with Wings, and Wings is currently the host of a growing philanthropy movement,
Yes.
specifically targeting climate philanthropy. That's the Philanthropy for Climate movement. What prompted the Alana Foundation to join this movement? And
I think we, of course, we are already, we signed the international philanthropy commitment in climate change. I think our goal is, of course, whatever we can do to improve and to collaborate to mitigate climate change, we are highly interested. But I also think that it's very interesting to be part of a network of foundations that are also interested in doing the same. So I think Alana would love to inspire other foundations to do the same. And also I think one of our roles is to bring this global South perspective, because we see a lot of foundations coming from the North global and the global North. And we would like to bring this example and also this inspiration from a foundation that it's also based in the global South, but it's been doing quite a lot, to help to mitigate climate change. So I think Wings is an amazing opportunity to do this network and also bring light to the global South causes that we know that it's not the majority, right? And on the other side, it's the majority of the foundations are not from the global South, but on the other side, it's the global South that has been more highly impacted by climate crisis. So I think it's very important I think one of our goals is to make connections and bring more foundations to also invest in the causes like in the global South, especially with climate crisis. So I think for us, it's a very good opportunity for networking and also to exchange and also to learn from the other foundations how we can also improve what we have already been doing, in partnership. In Alana, we believe that when we do together, we join forces and the impact is higher and better and stronger, right? So this is our main goal, I would say.
As we conclude the podcast, I was wondering, our listeners are very varied. So we have individuals, grassroots organizations, foundations of all kinds that are working in the philanthropy and development sector, but also just social actors driving change in their communities. What would be your thoughts to them? Any wisdom you'd like to share, especially around addressing the climate challenge and leveraging philanthropy for this?
Yeah, I think I would say that the philanthropy these days plays a huge role in this climate change as well, because we understand that this is a shared responsibility and everyone can do something about it. And lots of resources come from the governments, from the private sector, but I think the philanthropy sector also can contribute a lot. And if we work in a more coordinated way, an organized way, we can also have like a major impact and a stronger impact. So I think these are my thoughts, to understand that everybody has an important role in this huge challenge that is the climate crisis. And we need to guarantee it right now, because we don't have a lot of time, right?
Thank you, Leges, for sharing with us your thoughts and just the amazing work that the Alana Foundation, the Alana Lab and Institute are doing to address this. and a very interesting intersection between children's rights and climate. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madonna. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.